10 cards you are going to need to have for Ryzeal. Our Black Friday sale is in full swing. We've gone through the first markdown on the higher items. If there is something that you want, I do recommend coming through here and checking out what in the world I still have left up for this Black Friday. A lot of stuff has already moved, surprisingly, but I will leave a link down below so you guys can check out all the fun, fancy mats and things we have today. Make sure you guys smash the little crap out of that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out on more awesome content. Small World and Bonfire. It's a small world after all. You know, I'm going to be honest with you. Small World's an up-and-coming tech choice because we're not going to have our dear old friend out here, Tachyon Search, for quite some time. So, we're looking to Small World right now as that alternative. But Bonfire doesn't really take up much of a consideration spotlight. That's kind of a card that's a no-brainer. But for now, Small World is going to be, I guess, the secret tech that people are exploring. I don't really think it's necessarily all that bad. I think it's definitely a cool little idea to have for exploring. I mean, it depends on how your deck construction is going to go and what hand traps you're going to be exploring. Not to say that it's necessarily a bad thing, but we now have to put this on the table for consideration. I love pickups. Meteorologic Aggregator. This is kind of the big one, actually. Are you going to play one Meteorologic, or are you going to play two? Because I'm starting to kind of lean towards wanting to play two right now, honestly. I'm kind of sick of having my one Meteorologic get bumped out of the graveyard by an effect, and it's like, that's really disappointing. So if I play the second copy, we can dump again on the follow-up turn, and we can have a little bit more gas, and it's like our opponent didn't really actually do anything to us. I think that that's a solid idea. You want to make sure that you can have as much control on your opponent as you can actually afford. And losing your Meteorologic can be a pretty major inconvenience, but you absolutely have to play this card. Meteorologic is one of the strongest cards that you could have in this deck because it does chain blocking shenanigans, which is also really, really important. I love this card. Some of the rank 4 toolbox options. Baguska. So you wanted a stall method in order to kind of control your opponent so that you can actually play the game. That's actually kind of what you're going to get here, actually. I can tell you, having played Baguska, it does come up sometimes. It is not an all the time. It's kind of one of those things that you look at and you're like, wait, why are we playing Baguska? It's the oh shit button. Something went wrong horribly. And now we have to access it in order to kind of clean things up, or our opponent kind of put us in this really awkward position that we just kind of have to end on Baguska. I've seen enough Baguska pass in this deck, or enough Detonator pass in this deck, that you just kind of have to take a second and go, huh? Like, yeah. Baguska, I think, is a mandatory extra deck card at this point to be considering. But, I mean, you have so much of the rank 4 pool to kind of consider. Like, that's the thing that makes this deck so awesome. Light Dragon Agnister. Now, this is kind of a personal choice. I was playing this from the OC. I mean, it's 2 level 4s. If a monster or monsters you control be destroyed by card effect, detach a material from this instead. So we get 2 layers of protection. And then we can detach a material from this card, destroy face card your opponent controls up to the number of Agnister monsters you control. So you're getting a pop 1 with this as well, which is actually also kind of nice. I like the fact that, you know, we have more optionary cards in order to deal with things. It's also the same thing, like you can play Castel out here as well. I've seen a lot of Castel. Believe it or not, Castel actually being an option in this deck is not that insane. I don't know why people are kind of afraid to look at that as an option, but sure, man, if you're really going to be that afraid to explore Castel or even Light Dragon Agnister, I think you're doing this deck wrong. There are some extremely good rank 4s. Speaking of broken rank 4s, Exciton Knight. My favorite Evil Swarm monster. This card is so freaking good. It is insane. It is known as the Equalizer, as I like to call it. So the cool thing with Exciton Knight is we have this really, really strong monster that we just can, our opponents gain some advantage. We can roll out the Exciton Knight. Sure, there's no further damage that turn, which is a little bit inconvenient, but that doesn't matter. The thing that we care most about here is it just takes away all of the problems on the field. So, depending on how we set up, it kind of comes down to what the follow-up's going to be off of the Exciton Knight. You might look at the Exciton Knight and you might be like, well, Robbie, this just kind of seems like I'm losing card. Yeah, it does kind of feel like it's a card that things just kind of got out of control. We have to slam the oh shit button to try to not lose the game. Yeah, it does in fact happen. Abyss Dweller, this will depend on a lot of, I think, the meta surrounding what you're kind of expecting with this. Abyss Dweller, I've seen, there's been a lot of decent cutting with it in a lot of lists in Japan, but it's one of those cards that you look at and you're like, okay, it's probably going to also come down to your locals experience as well. Like, are you going to have a lot of graveyard-oriented stuff or not? I mean, yes and no. You do have a lot of those stupid things that do come up. Maybe on the more competitive scene, Dweller might be cut. If not, honestly, I feel like some days this is just fodder for the Pot of Prosperity if you're choosing to play it. But it definitely does leave a little bit to be desired for sure. But your extra deck has so much room, you may as well, give it some consideration. All right, this next one is strictly from the OCG, and it is the Full Armored Ray Lancer. Utopic, 3 level 4s to make it. You can also exceed summon it by discarding a spell card and using a rank 4. Monster opponent controls lose 500 attack. At the start of the battle phase, you negate the effects of all attack position monster opponent controls, and when this stacking monster destroys a monster by battle, you attach a material from this, it can make a second attack in a row. So you're telling me I have a 2,500 attack point monster that looks at my opponent's entire field and goes, attack, attack, attack. Now, keep in mind that's a 1,500 power down, a 1,000 power down, and a 500 power down if you're using the 3 level 4s to make it. So this is essentially just an OTK cleanup card, depending on if I'm dedicating 2 level 4s to it, or, 2 level 4s on a spell card, or 3 level 4s, and so forth. That's really, really cute, actually. I gotta tell you, if you need a cleanup card, this is probably one of those cute little options for sure. So, Pot of Desires makes this list. Desires has been a new tech choice that a few people have been exploring out here because the TCG players, they want to draw cards. TCG players want to find outs, and if you're playing a crap ton of hand traps in a deck like this, why would you not explore the option of getting into more of those? This would also be one of those cases of maybe you would want to explore more of the field spell. Maybe you want to go to 2 field spells if you start exploring Pot of Desires. All of these options are doable. There is absolutely no incorrect way to possibly decide, hey, do I want to play Desires or do I just want to stick with the Pot of Prosperity? Do I want to play the Small Worlds? The deck is your oyster. You have so many cool options, yet again, to explore with this. Desires is just one more thing to go, we can get some power in here to draw. Ghost Ogre. Oh boy. So, you ever have your duo drive ogred without a field spell up and running and you're just like, oh, or you have one of those hands that you have to make the duo drive and hope that the duo drive sticks in order to get the field going? Yeah, that's why Ogre is one of those cards that's going to be really, really good in the upcoming format. Well, yes, I understand that the field spell does in fact exist. Yes. But you have a lot more situations that you're going to roll through your opponent with the Ogre and punish them. It surprisingly shouldn't happen, but I think Ogre's presence in the meta as a card for Ryzeal to want to look at is very, very much there. We're going to have so many cool deck building options with this. Maybe Ogre might get skipped over, but just don't Ogre the Dreadnator, whatever you do. If you Ogre the Dreadnator, we're going to laugh all the way to the sad table. All right, we also have the Solemn Judgment. Now, this is a pretty major one. I think you definitely want to be looking at this right now because with the way Solemn Judgment is as a card for the side deck for Ryzeal. It's so good, man. All right, your opponent tries to do something. Nope, Judgment. All right, the Judgment exists as the card to make sure that you don't lose the game and you keep your Dreadnator up and running. Because Dreadnator itself is the major clutch card, but the problem is if they do find that out to your Dreadnator, you lose. That's why the Judgment is a card to explore for the side deck to make sure, oh crap, I'm not losing the game. So those are your top major concerns out here for things to pick up for Ryzeal. Leave a comment down below, tell me what you guys think. Yes, I know I forgot Zeus, but I figured you already knew that. You guys have a good rest of your day, all right? Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.